This is season number 19 of Bass Talk Live with Matt Pengrack. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Aftco, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Pro Guide Batteries, Beatdown Outdoors, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, and Omnia Fishing. Hit them with the hook, Jeffries.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. It is Bassmaster Classic week, which means the BTL schedule is all over the map, but we also have a BPT event going on in Tennessee, close to where the Classic is going down, but a great event there, a split event. Opening rounds on Douglas Lake, then they move to Cherokee Lake. So we'll get all of the logistics out of the way to kick things off. Two shows today. First show, Arkansas professional. He was a California professional. Then he was an Oklahoma pro. Now he's an Arkansas pro. I think he's happy there. I think he's established. He's in there. He's been there forever now. We'll bring him in right now. Freddie Boom Boom Roumbanis, right? Like, I mean, you're an Arkansas guy right now. It seems like it feels natural to you.
Man, it is. They call it the natural state, right? No, I love it there. It's beautiful. Fishing's great. Living on a river system, Lake Dardanelle. We all know that lakes can be tough and brutal, but it can also be awesome. And, you know, it's a good place because it changes daily. It keeps me on my toes.
It is. And Dardanelle's kind of coming back. I remember when I started fishing college there in like 07, 08, 09, it was crazy how good it was. I mean, the fish were just fat. It was a very healthy system. And then it went through a little bit of a tough time, but it seems, just looking at the weights and some of the Arkansas events and some of the events that have been there over the past couple of years, that Dardanelle is a fishery on the rise now.
It really is. And they've even done some stocking programs. So there's, you know, more fish being released into the environment. But like, I just left them biting coming out here. And I mean, we were catching 15 to 17 pounds. So yeah, I mean, I wish I was back home to fish that Toyota series this week, but or I think it's next week, but unfortunately
you're on the road. How often does Jackson get out on Dardanelle? It seems like he's always on the lake somewhere. Is he on Dardanelle, or do you guys, when you guys go out, or you guys fish other small area lakes and just let people think what they want to think?
I mean, for the most part, it is Lake Dardanelle. He does fish a lot there. He's got the youth tournaments. They won one a couple weeks ago. It was pretty cool because Julie was the captain, and it was him and his younger brother Avery, and they got the opportunity to showcase their skills in that event, and had like 15 and a half pounds and won the youth tournament. But
nice.
This last weekend didn't go so well for him.
It is.
You know, it's fishing, but we have a lot of lakes that are electric motor only. So they have these little no gas big bass tournaments that him and his buddy Jaden, who's now off to college, would jump in and fish. We have a little aluminum boat with troll motors, and of course we got the live scope on there, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, those lakes are absolutely phenomenal. Great fishing.
Hey, can you unhook your audio from your truck? I guess I thought I can hear you through my headsets, but we got some people saying that it's a little whoa, there you go.
1 second here, hold on.
All right, just saying that it's just a little bit faint to hear boom boom. There you go. I think is that it?
I took the Bluetooth off. That should do it, right?
Yeah, that should do it. Then go horizontal with the phone. That's the beauty of live. There you go.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. All right, let's get some stuff out of the way. So you are a man who has capitalized, and we've talked about this on the show before, on the Boom Boom logo. I think you even copyrighted it, right?
Yeah. Went ahead and trademarked it, and you know, I mean, obviously the nickname. Got to thank you guys with Mark Jeffries and Harold Allen back in the day.
Yeah. All right. I have to mention this. I got a call from Bradley Hallman. You know Bradley very well.
Oh yeah, Bradley's awesome.
And Bradley's made it through the open gauntlet back on the Elite Series. And look what Bradley was able to do. He now, he got a website, BradleyHallmanFishing.com. So he's jumped up in the world there. And I just want to let everybody know that the signature BFE, which is his classic, the best flipper ever from Big Bite Baits, he has a limited order of BFE hats on BradleyHallman.com, BradleyHallman.com. So if you want to get in on the BFE hats, I'm not sure why they just went live yesterday. They're already on sale for $25. But if you want to get in on that, I told Bradley right off the hopper this morning that I would show him the BFE hat. Now, I also told him that he'd never be on the show if he didn't save me one of them. They're like leather patch BFE hats, but that's very fitting for Bradley, isn't it? Just kind of that old school Arkansas look to him.
Very cool. Very cool.
There you go. There it is. The BFE hat, that and the trucker hat. So I had to do that. Also, today, 12:30 p.m., the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Jeffries will be back for a special edition of the Classic Odd Show on BTL. So after we're done with Boom Boom, 12:30 p.m., another BTL, Mark Jeffries, who's going to run down his odds for the Classic. And God only knows what those are going to look like because the man has been neck deep in bowling, senior bowling, college bowling, and basketball. So who knows what the hell his odds are going to look like this year? You getting waved at?
Yeah. I'm sitting in my truck.
All right, let's get to the business at hand at you. One of the unique things that I really like about the BPT format is a couple times a year, there will be a split tournament where the qualifying rounds and then the knockout rounds or the championship will be on different fisheries. I think that Carolina one where you had like Sharon Harris and all that stuff is that one. There was one in Louisiana, I think, to kick the year off. Wasn't it that Caney Creek? You'll see that a couple times throughout the year. I really like that, but you guys kicked off stage number 2, 4 days ago now, as this is actually your off day, on Douglas. And boy, I watched some of that. It looked challenging, Fred.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So they actually gave us an extra day of practice because we have, Douglas and then Cherokee for the knockout and final round. But, in the past, when we do these split lakes, I think the first time we went to Jordan Falls and then, I made the knockout round, I believe in that one, but I usually don't do that great in them because I try to split my practice at both lakes. And it's always the second lake that I do better at, like in practice. I'm like, oh man, like last year when we went to Louisiana and Darbone, and then we went to Caney. And in Caney, I got on a swim bait bite and I was like, oh my gosh, if I can make it here, I'll make Bussy break. And, it was going to be awesome, but I couldn't get past Darbone. So this year, I just put all my eggs in learning Douglas and just covering water, learning as much as I could for the 3 days, which we've got to practice, to basically help me squeak into the knockout round at Cherokee. Now, I haven't been to Cherokee since the Bassmaster Elites several years ago when Jacob Wheeler won, and it was frigid cold, but it was early in the year. We're in March now, so I mean, I got to imagine we're more of a pre-spawn kind of deal because a lot of these fish are really starting to stage hard. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I stuck with my Boom Boom swim bait and relied on my Garmin live scope, and it kind of got the job done for me this week.
We talked a little bit about this off air before you jumped on, but it's amazing to me. And I watched specifically that one that you had the Boom Boom swim bait where you're like, there he is, set the hook. It was like 2 cranks and he was in the boat. And it's interesting, as I would say 90% of the field now is proficient with live scope, some sort of forward facing sonar. And you talk to some guys and they're like, oh, it's undetectable for the fish, it doesn't really matter. You talk to other guys and they're like, dude, they're starting to feel the beam, they're feeling the pressure, you're having to change your tactics. What are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, I just watched you on an ultra tough Douglas wreck a fish on a big swim bait that was 10 feet from the boat, and then you've got other guys that are, hey man, you're having to make 80-90 foot casts. Is that a situational deal?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I think, just fish in general, they get in moods, I mean, it's, if they're in a feeding mood, I don't think you can break that mood. I think if they're committed to feed, like they're shad and they're starting to chase them and go. It doesn't matter if you're looking at them or not. If you got the beams and noise and whatever you think might disturb them. If they're in that mode to feed, it's why we stir up schools. It's why we, sometimes we'll run by a point with our boat, get the waves going, get the bait going, get the fish feeding. I think there's times when those fish are just in that feeding mode that you cannot break that no matter what you do. You can be right on top of them. And in that situation, that fish was basically chasing shad towards the boat. I wasn't moving the boat. I dropped my swim bait down. Actually, I had to drop it down 10 feet. It was a little deeper, but I got that bait right in front of its face, and it charged it. It charged it right to the trolling motor and grabbed it. So, I do see that there are times where crappie fishing. I love doing a lot of crappie fishing. I know you do too. Sometimes you start breaking up the schools of crappie a little bit. But I think it's just because they're getting a lot of pressure, But yeah, it's such a useful tool. I don't know. I see it helping a lot more than it not helping.
Did you have to go through the learning curve over the last couple of years with it? Because listen, I've fished with you a lot back in the day. I know what your style of fishing is. It's run and gun. It's power fishing. Did you have to kind of relearn? Because I see a lot of stuff on social media too of you utilizing that and fishing with it in Arkansas.
Yeah, see, I was smart. I raised a kid who's very good at electronics.
Is Jackson better at you than that?
Oh, 100% better than me.
Really?
There's no doubt about it.
He's 15.
Well, he's 15. He's just the kid's a genius. He really is a genius. But we're sitting there, at Lake Darnell, and like we talked about earlier, but he doesn't need to have that live scope out 70, 80 feet. He'll put it in 40 feet, and he'll catch just about every fish around him, either with a hair jig or jerk bait. And he's just so efficient with it. And I sit there and watch him. It's hard to have two people that are very competitive fishing with one live scope. It is. So we kind of go back and forth. Like, once you catch one, it's my turn to go up front.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's good. He's good with it. Now, granted, go back to that kayak tournament, he had no electronics, and he won the kayak tournament. So he can still catch them.
All right. You'd be a perfect guy to talk about this because you're grooming a future professional fisherman. And Avery seems more like a guy who'd be into like WWE wrestling or football or something like that and just fish for fun. Is that a fair assessment? Like, loves fishing, but not as ate up with it as Jackson.
You nailed it on the dot. Avery is an athlete. He's my youngest. He's 11 years old now. He plays football. That's his sport. He played basketball. They won their championship basketball, and it's fun. It's fun to go watch all the sports with him, and it's just, I got the best of both worlds. I'm super blessed.
All right, but you've got Jackson, and I would assume Jackson wants to do this for a living.
Yeah, there's
eventually.
He's going to do something in the fishing industry for sure. There's no doubt about it. He is so ate up with fishing.
Do you worry about this though? This is
of course.
Well, no, not about this. What I'm talking about is he's growing up with the forward-facing technology. This is now a part of the landscape of fishing, as opposed to learning your traditional patterns and where the fish are supposed to be. As a dad who's learning it, do you worry about reliance on technology too much? Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Is that just the way the sport is going now? Or how do you build a well-rounded angler without leaving out the technology, but not relying 100% on technology? That seemed would be a struggle to me.
It kind of is, but at the same time, where we live in Arkansas on that river, there's so much of a shallow water flipping frog and swim jig, swim bait. There's so much other stuff that you just really can't use that technology for. And so he gets all that, and he understands that. And, I've taught him little tricks here and there of what to look for when the environment changes, and he's picked up on a lot of that. And then he brings new stuff to the table too, because, he's like a lot of these young guys out there, they sit there and they watch that YouTube. I just don't have time. So it's I'm not too worried about it. He just needs to be definitely dialed with all that stuff, because that technology is only going to get stronger. And if he's on that cutting edge at that age, I mean, you know, I just want to still be on tour the day he qualifies. So that way I could at least say I got to fish with him. Kind of like some of these father and son team, duos out there. That'd be cool.
It's insane how many there are. You look at what Britt Meyer's kid and Laker Howell and Cal Lane, Marshall Robinson, Alton and Alton Jr., which are kind of like the OGs on this thing. It is amazing how many of these guys. I mean, when you first started too, we're talking like young little kids, right? Like 7, 8 years old running around weigh-ins. And now you're fishing against half of them on the invitationals this year.
It's crazy. It was like I just blinked. The next thing I know, I'm one of the old guys. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but it's fun. And I love seeing it. It's cool. They're all such great kids, every one of them. Marshall, Laker. I mean, all these guys are. I also room with Lance Crawford and his son Colin Crawford from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And
Fred got a call. We'll get Fred back in a second.
Okay.
Back? Yep, you're back.
Hey, I did the don't disturb thing. I don't know why I did that.
I don't know. No, you're back.
So anyway, I mean, just watching Lance Crawford, and his son Colin. I mean, they're he's 17 years old fishing the invitationals, and he's only a junior in high school.
Wow.
I mean, that'd be a good guy for you to interview on one of your shows.
Who is it? Colin Crawford?
Yeah, Colin Crawford. He kind of breaks the mold of what they're doing though, and that, having the high school, the college, and everything else, and giving you that he's kind of done. I think he's won high school championships. And now, obviously he's in the invitational. He's cashed checks in both of them. He's sitting in, I believe, around 20th place in the points. He may be fishing with us next year.
Yeah, that's insane. The top, is it the top 8, I believe, that move on, either the top 8, 9, or 10 that move on from the invitationals to the BPT next year?
Yeah, I think it's the top
8. Speaking of the BPT and the invitationals, rough start to your BPT season. Really rough start to your BPT season, but a really good start to your invitational season. You're sitting in the 15th. Talk about where you kind of think you sit as far as your career, where you're dialed in on your fishing right now, and when we might see. I mean, dude, it's been a minute since we've seen you make a run. Like, dude, you've won some pretty cool tournaments, but it's been a minute since we've seen you make a run and have one of those boom 3 or 4 tournaments, fishing by the seat of your pants. Holy cow, another top 10. I mean, that's still in you.
Oh yeah, it is. It's funny because when you win a bunch, like, or quick, like I did early in my career, it was like, I didn't see this. I just never saw myself not winning at that point. And then all of a sudden I go dang near a decade, or a little over, I guess, with 2012 was my last win. It was a PAA, professional win on the national circuits. And man, I just, I've had some close encounters since then, but it's it's not easy to win. You just never know when your last one's going to be, and you never know when your first one's going to be. So I still got it in my heart to win, and I'm as competitive as ever. So I love it. I think, I just love fishing. I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter what tour I'm fishing. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I mean, my off days, I want to go fishing. I mean, that's what we do as a family. And it's just, I'm blessed to be able to do it for a living.
Heck yeah. All right. We're going to take our first break of the show. And when we come back, you mentioned you snuck into there is no sneaking in with the weight 0. You qualified for the knockout round because you guys all start over at 0 tomorrow, right? On Cherokee Lake. And you mentioned that you had not practiced at all on Cherokee, that you focused on Douglas. So when you come back, there's a lot of people that are in that same boat. They get to go fishing on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. They don't have time to practice for it. They have to jump in their local tournament. And I struggle with this too, as far as putting a pattern together quickly, cutting in high percentage areas, figuring out what the fish are doing. So when we come back from the break, I want to give you a minute to think about this. For us, the weekend anglers, the guys that are fishing, you get one day to go out. You're doing this tomorrow on Cherokee, how you put together and systematically break down a lake when money's on the line and you haven't had a chance to practice on it.
All right.
BTL on a Tuesday? It's a Tuesday. Holy cow. Yeah, just like years fly by, weeks fly by, Fred. It's scary sometimes. BTL on a Tuesday.
What day it was. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Well, you've never known what day. You don't know what cardinal direction you're going or what day it is. You've never. That's just who you've been since you've been like 17 years old.
That's right.
All right, BTL on a Tuesday with Freddie Boom Boom Roumbanis. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
So I'm a big guy, you know, a lunker, a two sandwich eating kind of man. And on behalf of all of those bigger, I gotta say it once and for all, it's bad enough that the fish look smaller in our hands. The last thing we should have to worry about is getting quality outdoor clothing that fits. AVCO, any fish, any water.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Shoreline Boat and RV, dock rash, storm damage, collision repair, that deep scratch or gouge from trying to access that secret creek. Shoreline Boat and RV can get your prized possession back in mint condition and looking good on the water, fast. All repairs are done in-house, so they're able to get your boat or RV back to brand new, quickly. All Shoreline's work comes with a rock-solid warranty. Find out more at ShorelineBoatandRV.com. Kansas City, Austin, and Tulsa. All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday with Freddie Boom Boom Roumbanis, and during the break, I got an email from one Mark Jeffries. It is the classic odds, which we were doing at 12:30 today. Oh, we're gonna get some hate mail. We're gonna get some hate mail, Freddie. It's gonna be very interesting to see. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to put odds on fishing, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think it'd be good to have a like one of those areas in Vegas where you can go and gamble on fishing. I really,
listen, cool. I know that there's been a lot of time spent into trying to figure out how that works. But here's the other thing. You can gamble on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. You can gamble on all this stuff. I would have to imagine with as relevant as Red Crest or the Classic is, if you could put viable, valid odds on it, it would already have been done. But I think in fishing, there are so many uncontrollable variables that it's almost impossible to accurately handicap the field, to do parlays, to do all that. And then on the other side of that, and I'm not saying that it would ever happen, but would it not be easy to like hit the under every time? Like, let's say,
yeah, I would always go for the underdog because that's when you win big, right?
well, I'm just saying it would be, it's easy to tell when someone's, I guess, throwing the game in a basketball game or a football game or something. It doesn't look right, but there's a bunch of jacked up stuff that happens over the course of the day on the water that there's no way you would have any idea if everything was above board.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, and you know, everybody was there to do one thing, and that's win. I mean, there's nobody's fishing for second. That classic, and you got the guys that all were the best of the year to make it there.
Yeah, classic and red crest. There's no reason to finish.
Exactly.
Finish for points.
Exactly.
All right, we talked about this before the break. You're going to a new fishery. You're doing it with the possibility of $100,000 for a couple days of fishing. You made the cut. It's your off day today. You chose not to practice on Cherokee. You're going in blind on Cherokee. You could have split your practice up however you wanted between Douglas and Cherokee. You are in the position that 95% of people with a 9-to-5 job have is they got to go out, fish their club tournament on Saturday, didn't practice on Friday. Break it down to us this time of the year, how you go into a pre-spawn fishery and break it down to systematically find them before your time runs out.
I mean, the biggest thing is, to fish efficiently, to pick up a bait that you feel like you got a lot of confidence in getting quality bites and really be willing to cover a lot of water. And I mean, I am, you know me, I like to run and gun. I mean, halftime I'm running with my rod in my hand. I mean, I life jacket's still on, rod's in my hand. I'll run up to a spot and I'll make a few casts. I'm going to have to fish like that from the get-go. Now, the good thing is we do have a 30-minute ride around before line's in. So I've already told myself, look, I'm not going to just go make the longest run. I'm going to stay close and I'm going to graph and I'm going to try to find a couple of schools of fish, see if I can get myself lined up with a fish on my live scope before line's in. If I can at least do that, I might be able to catch one quick. And then I only got to catch 4 more fish the rest of the day, right? So, providing that's a good quality keeper. But, I mean, that's what I'm going to do. It's weird because when we fish just a regular tournament, you got your 8-hour day. We're broken up into 3 periods, and it's a mistake I have is I always fish each period for that period instead of fishing it for the day. And so I feel like I'm only fishing these 2.5-hour night tournaments, like little Tuesday nighters.
3 jackpots.
Fishing three Tuesday nighters. And sometimes I just fish in different sections during those 3 times until I hopefully land on them. But I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna definitely utilize my electronics, utilize my mapping. Garmin, I've already downloaded the map to Cherokee off of our, the Active Captain app, and it gives you the navionics and everything. And then I can do the shaded relief and everything else. So once I find where the fish are located, you can actually, it's almost like a Google Earth overlay, but you can see, and you can change the water level. Of course, I'm gonna have the water level to whatever it's at. I got to do that today. But you can start seeing areas that are very similar, so you can run a pattern on those areas. But for the most part, I mean, these fish are wanting to go back in the backs of pockets and start spawning. The weather's not allowing for that to happen. So they're going to be staged somewhere. And my thinking is, secondary points, stuff like that. A lot of times bluff ends are great. Just little things like that I'm going to look for and hopefully find some fish. And you should find multiple fish in those areas. And of course, number one factor is you got to find bait. If you're going to find feeding fish, you got to find bait. So that's going to be...
So in a couple of minutes, you said you plan on staying relatively close, not running a million miles an hour. So now you've kind of knocked it down to a section of the lake that you want to start in your ride around. You have some elements that you're looking for. Yep.
Bait, birds. Definitely look for birds.
Bait and birds. You're also then going to look at the location that you're starting off based on your Garmin mapping. So that you said the channel swings, the secondary points, the bluff ends, the rocks. So now you have mapping location, visual location, and an area, and you have not made a cast yet.
Yep.
Now run through some of just in general. Let's do Ozark, like kind of that non-grass lake stuff, because that's what Cherokee is. what are some great cover water pre-spawn baits that are applicable across that whole kind of band of the country in pre-spawn?
I mean, you got to have some sort of a wigglewort crankbait tied on, this time of the year, especially in the Ozarks. I mean, you got to have something with a lot of wide wobble, but then you also, at the same time, because of these cold fronts and the cold conditions, a tight wobble is good too. So I'll have a flat side crankbait tied on and a crawfish, like a tight, a wigglewort's more of a crawfish imitation. So if that's a crawfish lake, then the Ozarks got tons of crawfish. So you got to have that style of crankbait, but then you also at the same time have to imitate the shad. And this time of the year is a lot of dying shad. We got these cold fronts, so a real tight, so like, and I like the balsa baits. I really do. I like some of these, like Black Label, stuff like that. That aren't my, I'm a crankbaits and stuff, but they're the real tight action, deep diving ones, especially in clear water. So, I'm going to have one of those tied on. I'm going to have an I'm a Flit 120 jerkbait. Definitely going to have a jerkbait tied on, without a doubt. And then my Boom Boom swim bait. And if I can figure something out with a reaction bait, it's going to be great. At the same time, I'm going to have probably a Ned rig tied on, a Demiki rig, some of your scoping baits, probably a little fish head spin tied on. But I mean, I'm going to have a lot of rods on the deck, and I don't like doing that. Usually after practice, you're dialed into 2 or 3 combos, setups, whatever.
You don't really have practice.
This is practice for me. So I'm going to be in total practice mode. I'm going to be picking up several different rods, running and gunning. But as soon as I catch a fish, I'm going to hit the brakes and really study what that fish is related to, why I caught that fish, where can I find more spots like this.
That's good stuff. So it really sounds like you could break it down into 3 categories. You have your forward-facing sonar feeding baits, which you said would be like the Demiki, the underspin, that type of thing.
Yep.
You have your reaction. You have your reaction baits, which are going to be basically your winding baits, your crank baits, stuff like that. And then you have those kind of intermediate baits that can serve as both a feeding bait or a reaction bait, like with the flit and the swim bait, depending on the scenario that you're presented with.
Correct.
So all 3 of those should be on your front deck if you're just trying to break down a fishery across the country this time of the year that doesn't have grass in it during that pre-spawn period.
And then at the same time, I just came off Douglas with a lot of success on my 5 and 6 inch swim bait. So, I'm going to throw the Boom Boom swim bait probably with more confidence without bites than any other bait in my box, because when I do get that bite, it's going to be the quality I need. If I get the bite.
I literally just had this conversation with Robert, my partner. He said, why do they throw wiggleworts in the early spring, but then you also throw the balsa? He's like, isn't that counterproductive? You say, why do you throw the wigglewort? Like you said, because it's a slow wide wobble, and then it's literally the other thing is the flat side. But you're saying it's based on what forage you're trying to imitate, which is why the tight wobble versus the wide wobble are, even though opposites, both effective this time of the year.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think people forget that there's bass that are going to be feeding on the crawfish, and there's going to be bass that are feeding on the shad. And so you've got to look at both of those scenarios at the same time. So that's why you have to have both of them. And they're both slow. I mean, right now, like at Douglas, there was a shad kill. I mean, because of these, we've had 20 some odd degree mornings, and there'll be shad kind of flickering up. And that's why, I think slow rolling my swim bait, like really slow rolling it, jerk bait and flat side crankbaits were key. But I don't know. I never really got on a wigglewort style bait there, but I do know if you've got smallmouth present in a lake, you better have one tied on. Something like a rock crawler or you know what I mean? Yeah. So, that's just, you're looking at crawfish and shad. You got to look at both bait possibilities.
Where the hell do all these fish go? Grand is going through it. It goes through it every couple of years. They'll have a bunch of these tournaments in March where it'll still take, 20 something to win, but it'll take like 7 pounds a day to get a check. And the fish population in there. Douglas Douglas has an insane fish population. You
Yeah.
go there in like April. I remember when I went there for the last open, I think I was catching 35, 40 keepers a day, and almost everybody had 11 and a half to 12 pounds. But then you go through these periods where it's like, holy cow, there's no fish left in the lake. Where do you think they go? What makes it get so tough like we are seeing in these opening rounds of the BPT? I mean, you guys are the best in the world, and you've got guys struggling to catch 5 of these things, and there's billions of them in a lake like this. Are the fish just not eating? Are they in areas where you can't access them? Like, what in your mind, where do all these quality fish go?
Well, you know, and I've noticed this from Douglas. I fished a PAA here years ago, and it just seems like they're real pelagic fish. They like to roam out in the middle. I caught them the first day of that tournament up the river throwing a red crankbait, mimicking the crawfish and everything else, and I ended up with a limit for like 8 pounds, and I was stoked that I caught 5. When I came into the bag weigh-in, I looked in everyone else's bags, and they all had these giant bass that were just bloated upside down. I said, oh my gosh, they're catching them deep. I mean, it was just an obvious observation. So day 2, and now you were allowed to throw an Alabama rig. I ran the opposite direction, got in the middle of a channel swing, let my Alabama rig sink 30 feet and caught 22 pounds. I mean, caught 4-pounder after 4-pounder. I mean, it was like, holy smokes, there's a lot of fish in this lake. I didn't think there were. So I think a lot of those fish are just down deeper, and they're roaming out in the middle. I mean, I don't think these fish necessarily have to relate to much cover. And that's where, you know, our live scopes and stuff show them. But when they're out like that, they're just hard to stay on because they're moving so much. They're so pelagic. They just keep moving, and you can't stay on them. They're not just sitting there where you can throw a bait and get in front of them. So I think a lot of those fish are moving a lot. And then we had, you know, they've had a lot of rain down here. So the whole lake's pretty much off colored, and it's cold. That never helps. So I don't know, but we do see that a lot of lakes. I mean, I know that shocked me looking at the results at Grand Lake. I mean, that's really shocking this time of the year.
It is. It took 22:07 to make the top 20 cut in Group A. That was you. Wheeler got you by an ounce. Anytime you're an ounce away from Wheeler, you're doing something right, Freddie.
Right.
And my question to you is, what do you think? It was 22:07. What do you think it would have been without forward-facing technology? Like, what percentage of the guys in the top 20 out of their 10 fish, like out of all of the, hold on, I'm not that.
I'm going to say it would have been closer to like 20 pounds for 2 days. Yeah. Because I mean, I honestly, I caught a couple on the live scope like that, but the rest of them I caught just casting. So,
okay. So there were 200 bass that accounted that were accrued for the creel in the top 20. Out of those 200, how many, in your just guesstimate, were seen on some sort of forward-facing sonar before they were boated?
I mean, the thing is, I don't really know what the other guys were doing. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say that. But I would imagine if I can catch them on a big swim bait on live scope, guys that are, you know, efficient with a jerk bait and, you know, or whatever else they're doing, I'm sure there was probably a lot of fish caught that way. So, yeah, you take that out of the equation, it wouldn't have taken much weight at all.
It's crazy how technology is flipping the fields.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell the guys who are, and they'll have their tournaments and their times, but there's guys who are just taking ass kickings because it's not their thing, and it never has been. It never will be their thing. Like, they weren't out there side imaging brush piles on points. They stayed on the bank. They weren't out there 2D'ing. They weren't out there doing any of that. They stayed on the bank. So, you know, like a Tommy Biffle who goes out and has a rough event, or a Cajun baby or something like that.
Yeah.
They'll have their time this year, but it's amazing that flip.
Oh, it is. And those shallower fish hopefully will get less pressure, right? I mean, you know, come times when everyone thinks we got to go offshore. So, you know, I'm hoping I can capitalize on some of that too, some of that action. But I can do both. I mean, I feel like I can do both. So,
we'll see.
All
right, what else you got going on in Boom Boom's world?
I mean, honestly, just doing a lot of fishing and enjoying the country life in Arkansas and family, and just loving life. That's not a whole lot, you know, just fishing all over the country,
doing both the Invitationals and the Bass Pro Tour. So.
Yeah. What was the decision behind that? I mean, that's a 5, 6, 8. That's a 15 tournament schedule, Fred.
I don't really know. We've had a lot of outside life situations last couple of years that, kept me from really fishing to my full level, I feel like. And this year I said, you know what, I'm gonna get back in the groove, and I'm gonna really try to fish hard. And unfortunately, Kissimmee got me on day 2. I was sitting 11th the first day, but I just made a couple poor decisions and came short. And it really one bad day of fishing this year of all the days I've had, and it really hurt me in the points. But I just want to get back on top of my game. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, heck, you're going to be in March, and you're going to have $30,000 in earnings already between the 2 invitationals and this BPT. Because I mean, you're getting a check, right? I mean, you're in the top 40. That's a $10K check, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then who knows what else? Because everyone starts at 0. That's the beauty of it going into.
I know, right? So. Hey, dude, I could still win it. Who knows? I mean, I gotta make a good decision in the morning. I mean, I'm gonna have to land on them. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'm gonna have to land on them just off of, a little bit of study I can do, but mostly instinct. So we'll see what happens.
I like it. You're gonna be roll by the Classic Expo this week after the event's over.
I got a lot of friends over there on the Bassmaster side, and I'd love to go out there and support them. Like to see Carl Jochimson go out there and win a classic. That would be really cool. So.
I had him on.
Like a little brother to me.
Jacked up over this thing, like a good way. But like, I mean, can you believe it? Like what he's built over the last 10 years?
I can believe it. The dude's got. I mean, it's his whole motto is "Fear my heart." I mean, he's got more heart than anybody, and he works hard, and he's a great guy, and he represents Australia well and the U.S. So it's a good dude, man. I'm stoked for him. I really want to see him. I want to see him win.
Well, I hope I don't see you on Thursday.
Yeah, right. And then also, I got to give a shout out to my roommate. I got a new roommate on tour this year, Josh Butler, and he was sitting in second place yesterday, and man, he's an up and comer. Keep an eye on that guy. He's on fire.
Yeah, I've had him on the show before. He seemed pretty motivated and pretty talented with the rod and reel.
Yeah, he's very talented, no doubt. So it's fun because we're sitting there, just talking, and he's showing me his tricks and I'm showing him mine. And it's just cool. It's cool to work with somebody new like that. And he's just a great guy. Solid dude.
Good stuff. All right, Freddie, I'm going to let you go. I know that you have some places to be and some people to talk to this morning.
Yep.
So I appreciate you sitting in the old truck and jumping on BTL. I try to get you on at least once a year.
Man, I appreciate it, dude.
Enjoy chatting, man.
Heck yeah, dude. You still need to come visit me sometime at Lake Dardanelle.
I know. I always drive past Dardanelle, but Dardanelle is right in that middle zone of
I know.
Too close to stop, but too far to visit for the day. So you're on that I-40, that nightmare I-40 drive, and you get 3.5, 4 hours in, and you stop and get gas in Russellville, but you're not ready to stop for the night because you're only 5 hours in.
Well, you always got a place to stay if you decide I can't make it.
Don't you have a sweet shop and stuff too? I see like pictures of that every once in a while.
Yeah. We built a barnuminium, I guess you could say. It's got a cool guest room in there. Got my tackle room. Put 2 boats and trucks in there. Bar. It's a good time.
I got a slab out back, but there's nothing on it. It's literally just the slab. My buddy brings his 5-year-old over to ride his bike on it. That's about as useful. Awesome. Useful as the slab is. So all right, Fred, have a good day tomorrow. I will be watching the live just to watch you put that tactic that you just described to use, those general patterns, make them specific, and start catching those Cherokee Lake bass.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
All right, see you, Freddie.
Live. See you.
All right, now that was Fred Roumbanis. I think we got the audio issues there figured out in the second half. You could hear him still in the first half, but we're going to take our final break. When we come back, like I said, we'll break down, maybe tease some of Mark Jeffrey's classic odds, and then run down what we have going on Bassmaster Classic Week later this week and into the weekend in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer, so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
Having confidence in your tackle while on the water is one of the main things to success, in my opinion. In the last couple of years with Denali, I've had just that. From anything from spinning rods, casting rods, tungsten products, even now to casting and spinning reels, I have the confidence to go out there and get the job done and know that all my equipment is going to handle it and do it just the way I want it. The thing about Denali is you've got great quality products at a great price point, so make sure you check them out.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ram-tailed craw. Great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the Matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that Matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves the house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for everyday carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips, so if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Welcome back, BTL on a Tuesday. I was watching the end of that Sunlight commercial. I didn't realize how Drew Cook just giving him the beans right there at the end. I mean, vicious hook set. I like watching all the guys' different hook sets. Christie's is by far the most impressive. I've never seen anyone move fish away from cover on the initial hook set as fast as Christie did. And, you know, you get up to a certain level and it's all about hook to land ratio, execution, what percentage of bites are you translating into weight in your live well or on the score tracker. And you watch Christie and the way he sets that freaking hook and gets those fish out. I mean, there's just no chance for those suckers. to get tangled up, it just drives the hook point home. And then also, if you listen to the section of the Bilge, Chris Aldane's podcast, like the very first one they had with Rick Clunn, there's a couple clips about it. He talked about keeping the hook points moving towards you as you're fighting the fish. That's something that I'm really working on this year, especially with a lot of spinning rod stuff, as far as not letting the fish fight and turn and get any leverage on you, but keeping those hook points coming. And those dudes with the hook sets, bam, you shock them, keep the hook points coming. I'm envious of some hook sets. I need to work on mine. All right, 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Mark Jeffries, the Bassmaster Classic odd show for the 14th, 15th consecutive year. Who knows how many years in a row it is, but he sent the list of the classic odds. There it is right there. It's just a bright white screen, but you can see it. I will say, no surprise at the very top. Yes, 3 guys tied for the top, but there are some guys down more towards the bottom that I'm surprised that he has that low, and then a couple of sleepers that he has high. So Jeffries will be on at 12:30. We will unveil the Bassmaster Classic odds for Bass Zone. And then no show tomorrow. I am traveling to the Bassmaster Classic. Thursday is media day. And we're not doing any shows during Classic week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I will be at the Classic Expo on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday at noon at the Bass Tank booth with Frank Scalish. Saturday at 1 at the Beatdown booth with Bradley Hallman. And then Saturday at 3 at the Sunline booth with Frank and whoever else is going to be there. But Friday, I will be in the Pro Guide Batteries booth. I will be at the Bass Tank booth. And then I think like AFCO, Sunline, Denali, and Big Bite are all in one kind of conglomeration. So I will be hanging out a lot. If you want to stop by, say hi, talk fishing with me, your best bet either Friday, Saturday, Sunday is to stop by the AFCO booth, that kind of big conglomeration in the main building, and then also follow on Instagram. That's where I'll have all of the updates on my stories and posting as far as times and where it is. But yes, Bradley Hallman and Frank Scalish. No day 4 with Frank Scalish because he's going to be, obviously, I'll be at the Bassmaster Classic. He'll be traveling there. And then when we're live, you got to watch the Bassmaster Classic. Also interested to see how it goes down on Cherokee. This is something that hasn't been talked about with the last regular season show. I think this is a outside of the Chicago Classic. Am I wrong in saying that it's probably like one of the only smallmouth? This has a potential. I think you're going to see a lot more smallmouth out of that Loudon Teleco, especially after what Gussie's done, especially with the weather that they've had going through there. There was a lot of, we saw what Odd and Lester and all those guys did. Mark Davis Jr. last time they were there in 19, the lakes and the smallmouth played a little bit, but the lakes did not play as much as that Tennessee River did. It'll be interesting to see if the lakes play more. I fully expect there's a chance that we might see a predominant smallmouth tournament, which there's not many venues, especially as long as the Classic is in early season, that you're going to see smallmouth dominated fish. I think the TVA is probably the only one that they could do it in March without the pucker factor as far as having to cancel days with snow and ice and rain being really up there. Obviously that Chicago Classic was in the summer, so unless they go back to a summer Classic, it's going to be tough for smallmouth. We've seen Redcrest and things and the MLF championship before it got canceled go down on the St. Lawrence River. So that was obviously predominantly smallmouth. So, all right, we'll be back in just a couple hours. And if you're listening to this on podcast, there should be another podcast following too with Mark Jeffries talking his Bassmaster Classic odds as we prepare for the Bassmaster Classic on the Tennessee River. Teleco, Fort Loudon, coming up in like 48 hours is when the thing starts. So that's all. Big shout out to Freddie Boom Boom Roumbanis for hanging out with me for a while. Always love catching up with that dude. Follow him on MajorLeagueFishing.com as they fish live tomorrow to try to get down to the top 10. That's it. We'll see you guys at 12:30 for the odd show later.